Thereat the lady stretched a vulture throat, and shot from crooked lips a haggard smile. The plan was mine. I built the nest, she said. Melissa, to hatch the cuckoo, rise, and stoop to updrag Melissa. She, half on her mother propped, half drooping from her, turned her face, and cast a liquid look on Ida, full of prayer, which melted Florian's fancy, as she hung, a Neobian daughter, one arm out, appealing to the bolts of heaven, and while we gazed upon her came a little stir about the doors, and on a sudden rushed among us, out of breath, as one pursued, a woman post in flying raiment. Fear stared in her eyes and chalked her face, and winged her transit to the throne, whereby she fell, delivering sealed dispatches which the head took half amazed, and in her lion's mood tore open, silent we, with blind surmise, regarding while she read, till over brow and cheek and bosom brake the wrathful bloom, as of some fire against a stormy cloud, when the wild peasant writes himself the rick flames, and his anger reddens in the heavens, for anger most it seemed, while now her breast, beaten with some great passion at her heart, palpitated, her hand shook, and we heard, in the dead hush, the papers that she held rustle. At once the lost lamb at her feet sent out a bitter bleating for its dam. The plaintive cry jarred on her ire. She crushed the scrolls together and made a sudden turn as if to speak, but utterance failing her, she whirled them on to me, as one who should say, read, and I read 2 letters, one her sire's. Fair daughter, when we sent the prince your way, we knew not your ungracious laws, which learnt, we, conscious of what temper you are built, came all in haste to hinder wrong, but fell into his father's hands, who has this night, you lying close upon his territory, slipped round and in the dark, invested you, and here he keeps me hostage for his son. The second was my father's running thus. You have our son, touch not a hair of his head, render him up unscathed, give him your hand, cleave to your contract, though indeed we hear you hold the woman is the better man, a rampant heresy, such as if it spread, would make all women kick against their lords through all the world, which might well deserve that we this night should pluck your palace down. And we will do it, unless you send us back our son on the instant whole. So far I read, and then stood up and spoke impetuously. Oh, not to pry and peer on your reserve, but led by golden wishes and a hope, the child of regal compact did I break your precinct, not a scorner of your sex, but venerator, zealous it should be, all that it might be. Hear me, for I bear, though man yet human, whatsoever your wrongs, from the flaxen curl to the grey lock a life, less mine than yours. My nurse would tell me of you. I babbled for you as babies for the moon. Vague brightness, when a boy you stooped to me from all high places, lived in all fair lights, came in long breezes wrapped from inmost south, and blown to inmost north at eve and dawn. With Ida, 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 rang the woods. The leader, wild swan, in among the stars, would clang it, and lapped in wreaths and glowworm light. The mellow breaker, murmured Ida, now because I would have reached you, had you been sphered up with Cassiopeia. Are the enthroned Persephone and Hades, now at length those winters of abeyance all worn out, a man, I came to you. I came to see you, but indeed not in this frequence can I lend full tongue, O noble Ida, to those thoughts that wait on you, their centre. Let me say but this, that many a famous man and woman, town and landskip, have I heard of, after seeing the dwarfs a presage, though when known there grew another kind of beauty in detail, made them worth knowing, but in you I found my boyish dream, involved and dazzled down and mastered, while that, after beauty makes such head from act to act, from hour to hour, within me, that except you slay me here, according to your bitter statute book, I cannot cease to follow you, as they say the seal does music, who desire you more than growing boys, their manhood, dying lips, with many thousand matters left to do. The breath of life, O more than poor men wealth, than sick men health yours not mine, but half without you, with you whole, and of those halves your worthiest, and however you block and bar your heart with system out from mine, I hold that it becomes no man to nurse despair, but in the teeth of clenched antagonisms, to follow up the worthiest till he die. Yet that I came not all unauthorized. Behold your father's letter. On one knee, kneeling, I gave it, which she caught and dashed, unopened at her feet. A tide of fierce invective seemed to wait behind her lips, as waits the river level with the dam, ready to burst and to flood the world with foam. And so she would have spoken, but there arose a hubbub in the court of half the maids, gathered together from the illumined hall. Long lanes of splendor slanted o'er a press of snowy shoulders, thick as herded ewes, and rainbow robes, and gems and gem-like eyes, and golden heads. They to and fro fluctuated, as flowers in storm, some red, some pale, all open-mouthed, all gazing to the light, some crying, there was an army in the land, and some that men were in the very walls, and some they cared not, till a clamor grew, as of a new world Babel, woman-built, and worst compounded. High above them stood the placid marble muses, looking peace. Not peace, she looked, the head, but rising up, robed in the long night of her deep hair. So to the open window moved, remaining there, fixed like a beacon tower among the waves of tempest, when the crimson rolling eye glares ruin, and the wild birds on the light dash themselves dead. She stretched her arms and called across the tumult, and the tumult fell. What fear ye, brawlers? Am I not your head? On me, the storm first breaks. I dare all these male thunderbolts. What is it ye fear? Peace. There are those to avenge us, and they come. If not myself, were like enough, O girls, to unfurl the maiden banner of our rights, and clad in iron burst the ranks of war. Our falling promartyr of our cause, die. Yet I blame you not so much for fear. 6,000 years of fear have made you that, from which I would redeem you. But for those that stir this hubbub, you and you, I know, your faces there in the crowd tomorrow morn. Behold a great convention. Then shall they that love their voices more than duty learn with whom they deal. Dismissed and shamed to live, no wiser than their mothers. Household stuff, live chattels, mincers of each other's fame, full of weak poison, turnspits for the clown, the drunkard's football, laughing stocks of time, whose brains are in their hands and in their heels, but fit to flaunt, to dress, to dance, to thrum, to tramp, to scream, to burnish, and to scour, forever slaves at home and fools abroad. She, ending, waved her hands, Thereat the crowd, muttering, dissolved. Then with a smile that looked a stroke of cruel sunshine on the cliff, when all the glens are drowned in azure gloom, a thunder shower she floated to us and said, "You have done well." And, like a gentleman, and like a prince, you have our thanks for all, and you look well, too, in your woman's dress. Well, have you done, and like a gentleman. Yeah, I'm not cross-dressing for a woman. That's one thing I'm not doing. Or at all, We have you done, and like a gentleman. You saved our life, and we owe you bitter thanks. Better have died and spilt our bones in the flood than men had said, "But now what hinders me to take such a bloody vengeance on you both? Yet since our father, wasps in our good hive, you would be quenchers of the light to be, barbarians, grosser than your native bears. Oh, would I had the scepter for 1 hour. You that have dared to break our bound, and gulled our servants, wronged and lied, and thwarted us. I wed with thee, I bound by pre-contract, your bride, your bond-slave. Not through all the gold that veins the world were packed to make your crown, and every spoken tongue should lord you, sir, your falsehood and yourself are hateful to us. I trample on your offers and on you. Begone, we will not look upon you more. Here push them out at gates. In wrath she spake. But those 8 mighty daughters of the plough bent their broad faces toward us and addressed their motion. Twice I sought to plead my cause, but on my shoulder hung their heavy hands, the weight of destiny. So from her face they pushed us down the steps and through the court, and with grim laughter thrust us out at gates. We crossed the street and gained a petty mound. Beyond it, whence we saw the lights and heard the voices murmuring, while I listened, came, on a sudden, the weird seizure and the doubt. I seemed to move among a world of ghosts, the princess with her monstrous woman guard, the jest and earnest working side by side. A lot of women are a lot more attractive in a group than they are by themselves, or otherwise desirable. The cataract and the tumult and the kings were shadows, and the long fantastic night, with all its doings, had and had not been, and all things were and were not. This went by, as strangely as it seems. As strangely as it came, and my spirits settled on a gentle cloud and melancholy. Not long I shook it off, for, spite of doubts and sudden ghostly shadowings, I was one to whom the touch of all mischance but came, as night to him that sitting on a hill sees the midsummer midnight Norway sun set into sunrise. Then we moved away. Well, the very top of Norway, you get to the point where you don't have dusk or dawn, so the sunset kind of never becomes the middle of the night, and the other way around. Thy voice is heard, the rolling drums that beat to battle where he stands. Thy face across his fancy comes, and gives the battle to his hands. A moment, while the trumpets blow, he sees the broad about thy knee. Next, like fire, he meets the foe and strikes him dead for thine and thee. And the Leah sang, we thought her half possessed. She struck such warbling fury through the words, and after the feigning pique at what she called the raillery, or grotesque, or false sublime. Like one that wishes at a dance to change, the music clapped her hands and cried for war, or some grand fight to kill and make an end. And he that next inherited the tale, half turning to the broken statue, said, Sir Ralph has got your colours. If I prove your knight and fight your battle, what for me? It chanced her empty glove upon the tomb lay by her like a model of her hand, and she took it and she flung it. Fight, she said, and make us all. We would be great and good. He knight-like in his cap, instead of casque, a cap of Tyrol, borrowed from the hall, arranged the favour, and assumed the prince. Now scarce 3 paces, measured from the mound, we stumbled on a stationary voice, and stand who goes 2 from the palace, aye, the second 2 they wait, he said, pass on, his highness wakes. And one that clashed in arms by glimmering lanes and walls of canvas led, threading in the soldier city till we heard the drowsy folds of our great ensign shake from blazoned lions o'er the imperial tent, whispers of war. Entering the sudden light, dazed me half blind, I stood and seemed to hear, as in a poplar grove when a light wind wakes, a lisping of the innumerous leaf and dies, each hissing in his neighbour's ear, and then a strangled titter, out of which there brake on all sides clamouring etiquette to death, unmeasured mirth, while now the 2 old kings began to wag their baldness up and down. The fresh young captains flashed their glittering teeth. The huge bush-bearded barons heaved and blew, and slain with laughter rolled the gilded squire. At length my sire, his rough cheek wet with tears, panted from weary sides, King, you are free, we did but keep your surety for our son. If this be he are a dragged mocking, thou that tends to her bristled grunters in the sludge. For I was drenched with ooze and torn with briars, more crumpled than a poppy from the sheath, and all one rag disprinced from head to heel. Then some one sent beneath his vaulted palm a whispered jest to some one near him, Look, there has been among his shadows Satan take the old woman and their shadows. Thus the king roared, Make yourself a man to fight with men. Go, Cyril told us all, as boys that slink from fuel and the trespass chiding eye. Away we stole, and transient in a trice, from what was left of faded woman's slough to sheathing splendors and the golden scale of harness issued in the sun that now leapt from the dewy shoulders of the earth and hit the northern hills. Here Cyril met us, a little shy at first, but by and by we twain with mutual pardon asked and given, where stroke and song were soldiered peace, whereon followed his tale. Amazed he fled away through the dark land, and latter in the night had come on Psyche weeping. Then we fell into your father's hand, and there she lies, but will not speak or stir. He showed a tent, a stone shot off. We entered in, and there, among piled arms and rough accoutrements, pitiful sight, wrapped in a soldier's cloak, like some sweet sculpture draped from head to foot and pushed by rude hands from its pedestal. All her fair length upon the ground she lay, and at her head a follower of the camp, a charred and wrinkled piece of womanhood, sat watching like the watcher by the dead. Then Florian knelt, and come, he whispered to her. Lift up your head, sweet sister. Lie not thus. What have you done but right? You could not slay me, nor your prince. Look up, he comforted. Sweet is it to have done the thing one ought, when fallen in darker ways, and likewise I be comforted. Have I not lost her too? In whose least act abides the nameless charm that none has else for me. She heard, she moved, she moaned a folded voice, and up she sat, and raised a cloak from brows as pale and smooth as those that mourn, half shrouded over death. In deathless marble, her, she said, my friend parted from her, betrayed her cause and mine. Where shall I breathe? Why kept ye not your faith? O base and bad, what comfort none for me, to whom remorseful Cyril, yet I pray take comfort. Live, dear lady, for your child. At which she lifted up her voice and cried, ah me, my babe, my blossom, ah my child, for one sweet child whom I shall see no more, for now will cruel Ida keep her back, and either she will die from want of care, or sicken with ill usage, when they say, the child is hers for every little fault, the child is hers, and they will beat my girl, remembering her mother, oh my flower, are they will take her, they will make her hard, and she will pass by in after life, with some cold reverence, worse than were she dead. All mother that I was to leave her there, to lag behind, scarred by the cry that made the horror of the shame among them all. But I will go and sit beside the doors and make a wild petition day and night, until they hate to hear me like a wind, wailing forever, till they open to me, and lay my little blossom at my feet, my babe, my sweet Aglaia, my one child, and I will take her up and go my way, and satisfy my soul with kissing her. This thing about referring to women as children that doesn't sit well with me. What might that man not deserve of me, who gave me back my child? Be comforted, says Cyril, you shall have it. But again she veiled her brows, and prone she sank, and so like tender things that being caught feigned death, spoke not, nor stirred. By this a murmur ran through all the camp, and inward raced the scouts, with rumor of Prince Arab hard at hand. We left her by the woman, and without found the grey kings at parle. And look, you, cried my father, that our compact be fulfilled. You have spoilt this child. She laughs at you and man. She wrongs herself, her sex, and me, and him. But red-faced war has rods of steel and fire. She yields our war. Then Gamma turned to me. We fear, indeed, you spent a stormy time with our strange girl, and yet they say that still you love her. Give us, then, your mind at large. How say you, war or not? Not war, if possible, O king, I said, lest, from the abuse of war, the desecrated shrine, the trampled year, the smouldering homestead, and the household flower, torn from the lintel all, the common wrong, a smoke go up through which I loom to her, 3 times a monster. She lightens scorn at him that mars her plan, but then would hate at every voice she talked with to ratify it, and every face she looked on justify it. The general foe, more soluble is this not, by gentleness than war. I want her love. What, were I nigher this, although we dashed your cities into shards with catapults? She would not love, or brought her chained a slave, the lifting of whose eyelash is my lord. Nor ever would she love, but brooding turn, a book of scorn to all my flitting chance, were caught within the record of her wrongs, and crushed to death, and rather, sire, this than this, I would the old god of war himself were dead. Well, do there have to be different gods of this, that, and the other? Forgotten, rusting on his iron hills, rotting on some wild shore with ribs of wreck, are like an old world mammoth bulked in ice, not to be molten out, and roughly spake, My father, tut! You know them not. The girls, boy, when I hear you prate, I almost think that idiot legend credible. Look you, sir, man is the hunter, woman is his game. The sleek and shining creatures of the chase, we hunt them for the beauty of their skins. They love us for it, and we ride them down, wheedling and siding with them, out for shame. Boy, there's no rose that's half so dear to them as he that does the thing they dare not do. Each gender, each individual needs to interact with others, at least for their own sake. Breathing and sounding, beauteous battle, comes with the air of the trumpet round him, and leaps in among the women, snares them by the score, flattered and flustered wins. Though dashed with death, he reddens what he kisses. Thus I won, your mother, a good mother, a good wife, worth winning, but this firebrand gentleness, to such as her, if Cyril spake to her, to catch a dragon in a cherry net, to trip a tigress with a gossamer, were wisdom to it. Yea, but sire, I cried, wild natures need not wise curbs. The soldier, no. What dares not Ida do that she should prize? The soldier, I beheld her when she rose, the yesternight, and storming in extremes, stood for her cause and flung defiance down, gage-like to man, and had not shunned the death. No, not the soldiers. Yet I hold her, king. True woman, you clash them all in one, that have as many differences as we. A warning about prejudice, don't you think? The violet berries from the lily as far as oak from elm, one loves the soldier, one the silken priest of peace, one this, one that, some unworthily their sinless faith, a maiden moon that sparkles on a sty, glorifying clown and satire, whence they need more breadth of culture. Is not Ida right? They worth it. Truer to the law within, severer in the logic of a life, twice as magnetic to sweet influences of earth and heaven as she of whom you speak. My mother looks as whole as some serene creation minted in the golden booths of sovereign artist, not a thought, a touch, but pure as lines of green that streak the white of the first snowdrops in her leaves, I say, not like the piebald miscellany man, burst of great heart and slips in sensual mire, but whole and one, and take them all in all, and we ourselves but half as good, as kind, as truthful, as much that Ida claims as right, had ne'er been mooted, but as frankly theirs, as dues of nature, to our point, not war, lest I lose all. Nay, nay, you spake but sense, said Gamma. We remember love ourself. In our sweet youth, we did not rate him then, this red-hot iron to be shaped with blows. You talk almost like Ida. She can talk, and there is something in it, as you say. But you talk kindlier. We esteem you for it. He seems a gracious and gallant prince. I would he had our daughter. For the rest, our own detention. Why the cause is weighed? Fatherly fears. You used us courteously. We would do much to gratify your prince. We pardon it, and for your ingress here, upon the skirt and fringe of our fair land, you did but come as goblins in the night. Nar in the furrow broke the ploughman's head, nar burnt the grange, nar bust the milking maid, nar robbed the farmer of his bowl of cream. But let your prince our royal word upon it. He comes back safe. Ride with us to our lines, and speak with Arak, Arak's word, it's thrice as ours with Ida. Something may be done, I know not what, and ours shall see us friends. You likewise are late guests, if you so will. Follow us, who knows? We four may build some plan, foursquare to opposition. Here he reached, white hands, a farewell to my sire, who growled an answer which, half muffled in his beard, let so much out as he gave us to go. I don't know if you can ever really make the difference of hearing someone or not by their beard, but you know. Then rode we with the old king across the lawns beneath huge trees, 1,000 rings of spring in every bowl, a song on every spray, of birds that piped their valentines and woke, desired me to infuse my tale of love, and old king's ears who promised help, and oozed all o'er with honeyed answer as we rode. And blossom fragrant slipped the heavy dews, gathered by the night and peace, with each lighter air. On our mailed heads, but other thoughts than peace burnt in us when we saw the embattled squares and squadrons of the prince, trampling the flowers with clamor, for among them rose a cry, as if to greet the king. They made a halt. The horses yelled, they clashed their arms, the drum beat, merrily blowing, shrilled the martial fife, and in the blast and bray of the long horn and serpent-throated bugle undulated the banner. Anon to meet us, lightly pranced, 3 captains out, nor ever had I seen such thews of men. The midmost and the highest was Arak. All about his motion clung the shadow of his sister, as the beam of the east that played upon them made them glance like those 3 stars of the airy giant's zone that glitter, Orion, that glitter burnished by the frosty dark. And as the fiery Sirius alters hue and bickers into red and emerald, shone their morions washed with morning as they came. So what does that astrological reference mean to you?